Oh, hello there. Yes, well, we'll see how the day goes. Still sticky, isn't it? Anyway, have a feeling I might get a knock at the door soon, actually. It'll be the thought police coming to get me. Yeah. Now, obviously not. It's not going to happen to me, being the establishment hero that I am. Obviously, yeah, I've got my get out of jail free card from George Soros, or something. Anyway, today I want to talk about free speech, because that appears to be where those gorgeous pouting online commentators have settled is going to be the new fight back zone. Yes, indeed. And I was drawn, as I inevitably am, to the gorgeous and pouting Tom Slater in Spike magazine, that esteemed organisation. Yes, anyway, between bigots and censors, without the right to hate, there is no freedom of speech. Yes, indeed, which is a bit of an apologist thing for various people throwing rocks and posting really, really horrible fascist stuff. You can read it for yourself, link down below. It's worthwhile just dipping into it. The top of it is this: the response to the race riots has been defined by two competing forms of denialism. There's the denialism of the very online right, desperate to downplay, make excuses for or flat out ignore the racism on display online and off in those dark days after Southport. Bear that in mind to what I come on to. Then there's the denialism of the authoritarian establishment, desperate to pretend there is no threat to the freedom of speech. Yes. Anyway, finishes with this. We'll come back to that whole racism thing. Anyway, yes, the elites have come to see freedom of speech as the source of all our problems, and censorship as all that stands between civilization and barbarianism. Not for the first time, they are catastrophically mistaken. After the riots, they aren't just locking up the rioters, racists and inciters. They are trying to sabotage the truly open, fear-free debate we need to work out how the hell we got ourselves into this mess. We must break out of this dreadful authoritarian cycle between the bigots and the censors. Freedom of speech is our only way out. Yes, indeed. You see, we've got to have freedom of speech, haven't we? Because the one thing we really need, if we're going to have a sensible debate about immigration, in other words, what Tom means by that is what laws we're going to bring in, draconian style, to kick various people out, because that'll really bolster Tom's friends. But maybe I'm just rushing ahead of myself there. Yes, indeed. Tom often comes out with these kind of things. Unfortunately for Tom, the internet has a memory, and it wasn't very long ago, it must have been weeks ago, in fact, that he was decrying racists on the streets, because, of course, people that had genuine concerns about things like, genocide, and horrific war crimes being committed with the complicity of the British government, were being decried as absolutely the scum of the earth that needed new laws against them. Do you remember that? Him and, Dan Grimes et al., because chanting from the river to the sea is a hate crime. And it was scaring all of the Jewish people, even the Jewish people that were on the actual, very peaceful demonstrations themselves. It was too much, and we definitely didn't need free speech then, but we do need free speech now, because those people that were chanting "kill the scum" and "burn them," either online or otherwise, deserve a fair hearing. After all, they have legitimate concerns. I think it's something to do with melanin in terms of your skin, the amount of legitimate concerns you have. Just to be reasonably rude about Tom Slater, but why not? He'll never go anywhere where he has to answer for any of his opinions. That's not his job. His job is to push a certain line, which we'll come on to in terms of certain business interests. Yes, this does appear to be the way forwards, right? Okay, we do have, for example, did notice Isabel Oakeshott. Yes, she seems to have quite strong ties with people like Richard Tice and GB News and Talk TV, where she goes on and, talks about how great Reform is, and how great Richard Tice is, and how great GB News is, and how great Talk TV is, and how great the whole right-wing agenda is. Seems to just be her job. Strange. Anyway, she posted this up. McCarthyism didn't end well for McCarthy after yet another one of those "oh boo-hoo, I've been locked up for things that were inciting a riot." Yes, indeed. I think we're going to see a lot more of this, whereby the notion will be, having captured the word fascist, because, of course, fascists aren't fascists anymore. Fascists are people like me. Right, okay. Now, you would have thought that fascism would be something you would associate with, for example, Italian fascism, hence the word, in the 1930s, or German fascism, which borrowed a lot from it, but with an anti-Semitic slant, in Germany in the 1930s. But you'd be wrong, because apparently fascism is me complaining about the enormous influence that non-big pharma, non-globalists, as they would describe themselves, have in the UK, in particular, using free speech as a wedge issue. Apparently that's fascism. Odd, isn't it? And now we're going to capture McCarthyism. Let's remind ourselves that McCarthy was somebody, yes, it didn't end well for McCarthy, and I imagine we're going to come on to witch hunts. That will probably be the next thing. There'll be witch hunts, right? Okay? But McCarthy was a very, very, very nasty, virulent con man. Yeah, who shaped a great deal of American politics in the 1960s and ruined people's lives. And no, he wasn't working for George Soros, was he? He wasn't a globalist, yes. And again, Free Speech Union, yet another one, another group of people, Toby Young, never have to answer. Tough sentences have been handed out to those who fanned the flames of online disorder online, but did not take part. Is this a criminal system working efficiently to act as a necessary deterrent, or are we witnessing the arrival of a British McCarthyism? Yes, yes, dreadful, isn't it, when you can twist history any way that you want it. So black does indeed become white. Moving swiftly on, of course. We will come to the nub of the matter, I assure you, soon. But let's think about Turning Point, who were past masters. After all, very, very nasty racist with a really strong online fascist following, aren't they? Yes. Still some Conservative MPs are signed up to them. It's astounding. Never mind that, we'll never have to answer for anything. But they've decided themselves, not with McCarthy, but to actually grab hold of MLK and a few other people like Nelson Mandela and start putting up quotes like this one, which made me fall through the floor. No one really knows why they're alive until they know what they'd die for. Yes, that is indeed a MLK post. For once they've managed to get the right one. However, I don't recall MLK famously saying, that he wanted his children to be judged not on the colour of their skin, but what mosque they might or might not pray in. Yes, and if he came back today, a bit like Jesus, I presume that he too would be a concerned citizen that decided to try and burn down hotels with people inside them, or something. Anyway, bringing us to the nub of the matter, all of this, of course, is about a particular party line from a group of very, very rich and influential people. When this lot talk about free speech, they mean their ability to push their message, which they're a bit worried about. Okay? If this lot really believed in online stuff, they sure as hell wouldn't support what Elon Musk does. Elon Musk, a man that bans individual words, or indeed is hand in hand with very repressive governments like the Turks and India under Modi. But everyone just ignores that, like Tom and Isabel. And indeed people like Nigel Farage, they just ignore this stuff because it's inconvenient, because he's pushing his own particular line. And those of you that go on Twitter, no, it isn't X, it's Twitter, all right, will have noticed that, a number of things about it recently. A, it's full of Nazis. B, it's full of porn. And C, it's full of bots. And there's no advertising on it. See, Elon can't get advertisers to go on it because he's just opened the floodgates to anyone who's right-wing. Can't use the word cis on it. It's an automatic block, that one is, yeah? And if you really do come to his attention, he'll kick you off. Of course he will, because he's a free speech guy, like Tom is. And the rest are. Isabel, definitely. Yeah. They're all the same. But the key thing is pushing a message. And the message, effectively, the whole message about race in the UK isn't to do with race at all. It's to do with rights, right? How do we deal with all this stuff? What do we need to do? Well, we need to leave the EHCR, don't we? That's the most vital thing, okay? And it will mean you losing some of your rights, okay? But think about it, okay? There will be this golden dawn. We can return to the golden times and the imagined golden times in the past. Not that that's a fascist trope, you understand, but the imagined golden times in the past when everybody was happy, be it the 1990s or the 80s or the 70s or the 60s or the 50s, or indeed, if you're a particular silent generation type, the 40s. Yes, when everything was perfect, wasn't it? We can go back there. And you might lose some of your rights to, like, go on strike or indeed have the ability to live at all. But there will be a Bill of Rights which will guarantee you free speech, so long as, you don't upset the people that actually control things, like the people that run GB News, like the people that run the Daily Telegraph, where, incidentally, just to have a dig at him, because I think it's about time I did, Nigel Farage is paid £4,000 a month to tell you how he's worth £4,000 a month. A man who, yes, indeed, is very much into free speech, but he's also very much into simply promoting his and his business partners' interests. Yeah? Talk TV, Murdoch. GB News, all of those hedge fund managers. The Telegraph, all of those big owners, as it soon will be. Yeah? And it's a charlatan of a notion. Sorry, he's a charlatan, but it's an astounding notion that these people who completely wrap up and control any form of media narrative that they have talk about the ability to listen to other sides in free speech. There isn't any. Is there? Yes. Mind you, I would say that, wouldn't I? Because I'm an enemy of an enemy of free speech. Or indeed, sometimes you get to the stage with them whereby they will actually blame people like me for the reason that there are rioters. Well, if you were a bit less woke, then people wouldn't be angry. Yeah, I'm sure that's the way the world works, isn't it? If you stoke this stuff up, take ownership for it. But of course Nigel won't. He'll just squirm and say that unfortunately he was reading posts by Andrew Tate. At which point you do have to ask, in terms of the guy, why on earth is he following Andrew Tate? Very strange. Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, it does hack me off, this thing, though. This is just simply where they're going to go. And they're going to keep banging on about this because there will always be somebody somewhere who's had their free speech marginally curtailed. But the problem with free speech, I mean, you can look at other platforms like Parler when they decided to go for an all-out free speech. You just get a whole bunch of porn, bots and Nazis. That's what free speech is. And if you think that that's where you want to go, please do. But don't forget that these people pushing this are the ones that know full well that they have the money to push their message. And poor little voices like mine will never be heard, which is a good thing after all, because otherwise people might start thinking that they're being lied to. And that would never be. That would be bad. Do have a lovely day. No, it's humid, isn't it? It's too much. Yeah. Enjoy. Without the gear, obviously. And no, open a window. Something like that. Or not. It's up to you.